Hi everyone. In this lecture, we will continue to discuss on JUnit 5 assertions, and today we will discuss about assert false method. So friends, in our previous lecture, we discussed about assert true method. So assert false method works exactly opposite to assert true method. So the assertions API provides a static assert false method. Now this method helps us in validating that the value supplied to it is false. So to static assert false method, we actually provide a value, and that is a boolean value, and it asserts that whether it's false or not. So if the actual value is false, then the test case will pass. And if the actual value is true, then the test case will fail. So it works exactly opposite to assert true method. Now let's discuss about assert false overloaded methods. So the first method only takes in a boolean condition, and this method only validates that whether the value provided to assert false is false or not. So if it is false, the test case will pass, and if it is true, the test case will fail. The second overloaded method takes in a boolean condition and a customized string message. Let's say our test case fails and we want to provide a customized string message, then we can provide it using this method. The third method takes in a boolean condition, and the second parameter is a functional interface by name supplier. So this functional interface basically supplies a customized string message whenever the test case fails. So as we discussed in our last lecture, that supplier functional interface is lazily evaluated whenever our test case fails. But here the string message is evaluated even if the test case is passed. The fourth method takes in a boolean supplier. So this boolean supplier is a functional interface which supplies a boolean value, and assert false validates whether it is a false or not. So this fourth overloaded method works exactly as the first method. The only difference is that we are providing a functional interface which actually supplies a boolean value. The fifth method is exactly same as the second method, with the only difference is that the first parameter is a boolean supplier which actually supplies a boolean value which we want to assert. And the sixth overloaded method is exactly same as the third overloaded method, with the only difference is instead of boolean condition we are providing a boolean supplier which is a functional interface. So friends, let's go to Eclipse and see the demonstration of assert false method. So here in Eclipse, in our previous lectures we have created a project JUnit 5, and we saw the demonstration of assert true method. So we know that assert false method works exactly opposite to assert true method. So in our test package, I will be creating a class as assert false demo. We'll keep it in a package as assert false. We'll click finish. So friends, here in the source folder we know that we have created one book service which actually stores the books into a list using the add book method, and we created one more method to return this list of books. And in assert true demo saw all the 6 overloaded methods. So assert false works exactly opposite to assert true. So here I will be using the same examples. So I will just copy all the examples. And in assert false demo, I will just paste it. So friends, first we will see the demonstration of assert false method with no message. So here you can see that we have created an instance of book service. And then we have created a book with a book ID, the title and the publisher. And then we are simply adding this book to our list of books by using the book service add book. And then we are simply fetching the list of books by calling the books method, which we discussed in our last lecture. And in the last step, we use assert true method, and we asserted that whether list of books is empty or not. So here I will be using the assert false method. We will import it from the assertions class. So friends, here you can see that we have added one book. So list of books is not empty, and if we call list of books dot is empty, we will get a false value. So if I run this test case, so here you can see the test case got passed. So why it got passed? Because the assert false asserts that the value provided to it is false. So we know that list of books is not empty because we have added one book. So here we are asserting that whatever value we have provided to assert false should be false. So it means we are asserting that list of books should not be empty. And in case after adding a book, if list of books would have been empty, then this assert false would have failed. So here let's suppose I don't add the book and I simply call the books, which returns me a list of books. So if I haven't added any book, we know that list of books is empty. And if we call list of books is empty, we will get the value as true. And we are passing a true value to assert false. Therefore, this test case will fail. So if I run the test case, so you see the test case got failed. And it gave an assertion failed error saying that expected was false but was true. So list of books dot is empty was actually true, but we expected it to be false because we have used the assert false method. So friend, this was assert false first overloaded method. Now let's see the second overloaded method, that is assert false with a message. So here if you see that when we haven't added any book, so list of books is empty, and if we call assert false and we are asserting that list of books is empty, we know that the test case will fail because list of books dot is empty will return a true value and we are asserting it to be false. So the test case will fail. But this time here we are providing a customized message saying that list of books is empty. So if I run this test case, so here you can see the test case got failed because it was expecting a false value, but the value was true because list of books is empty. The only difference it made was it provided a customized message saying that list of books is empty. So this was the second overloaded method. Now let's see the third overloaded method, which is assert false with message supplier. So here you can see that this test case will fail because list of books is empty, as we haven't added any book to list of books. So the only difference in this assert false overloaded method is, instead of providing a message directly, we are using the supplier functional interface, which will supply a message whenever the test case will fail. So here this supplier function interface only gets evaluated whenever our test case will fail. So this has one advantage, that this message is lazily evaluated whenever our test case fails. So if I run this test case now, so here you can see the output is exactly the same which we saw in our previous overloaded method. The list of books is empty is our customized message, and this gets evaluated whenever our test case fails. So if our test case gets passed, this supplier function interface doesn't get evaluated. So this was our third overloaded method. Now let's see the fourth overloaded method, which is assert false with a boolean supplier and no message. So here this assert false, instead of taking a boolean value directly, it takes in a function interface which is nothing but a boolean supplier. So it works exactly what we saw here. So if I run this, so here you can see the test case got failed and the output was exactly the same which we saw in the first overloaded method. So now let's see one more overloaded method. Assert false with a boolean supplier and a message. So here you can see the only difference that we saw in the second overloaded method, which takes in a boolean condition and a string message. Here it's exactly the same. The only difference is here it takes in a boolean supplier. So if I run this test case, here you can see that the test case got failed and the output is exactly same which we saw in our second overloaded assert false method. And similarly, one last overloaded method is the assert false with boolean supplier and a message supplier. So previously we saw assert false with a boolean condition and a message supplier. So this assert false takes in a boolean supplier and a message supplier. So if I run this test case, it gives the same output. It simply asserts whether list of books is empty, and as the value passed to assert false is true, therefore the test case got failed. And once the test case got failed, the supplier interface came into picture and it simply outputted list of books is not empty. So here I will just remove not. If I run it again, so it simply says that list of books is empty and whatever we wanted to assert was failed. So friends, here we saw the 6th overloaded method of assert false. If I simply add a book to a list of books in all the test methods, and if I run all the test cases, you can see all the test cases got passed. because we have added a book to our list of books. So our list of books was not empty. And we passed a false value to assert false. Therefore the test case got passed. So friend, in this lecture we discussed about assert false method. We saw its usage and we also saw its demonstration in Eclipse. I hope you like this video. Thanks, have a nice day.